Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. We are finally ready to begin a classic, epic campaign, The Spawn of Azathoth. It was written by Keith Herbert, and our game master is John Hook. A few weeks back, we created our characters, and now we are ready. Officially, this is episode 1. That being said, let's begin our journey into the darkness. John?
Welcome, players. To refresh our memories, when we last got together, in the middle of the night, Myron Dexter was awoken by a noise, a shuffling sound. And as he reached for his lamp, the light bulb popped, and he was still plunged in darkness. As he looked at the foot of his bed, there was a green spectral figure with no face, just the suggestions of facial features of a man screaming, but completely silent. And as he was reaching out for Myron, suddenly Myron observed a huge portion of his skull being bitten away. And then the specter was in great pain, visually great pain. And then another bite. And then the specter kind of fell to the ground and just kind of disintegrated before it even hit the ground. Myron looked at his clock, and it read 12:02 in the morning on the early morning of May 2nd, 1927. Myron, how did the rest of your evening go?
After listening to my own heartbeat for a few minutes, I got up from the bed, put on the robe that sits on the end bedpost, found a lamp on the opposite wall of the bedroom and turned it on. And then inspected the floor at the foot of my bed to see what kind of phosphorescent residue or other evidence of some prank I might find. Of course, there was nothing that I could locate. Well, I poured myself an unusual second cognac. If I go back to the bedside lamp, is the bulb in fact blackened and ruined?
It is.
That's almost a relief. So I'm going to fish through my night table for a candle, because I'm not going to leave the bedroom to go and get a replacement bulb, but I'm going to need to read for a little bit before I can sleep. This English anthropology text is fairly dense, so I hope it'll allow me to resume.
Your creature comforts do eventually calm your nerves, and you do eventually fall back to sleep. Come the morning, so it is now the Monday morning, May 2nd, the true morning. Everyone has received their newspapers, and you have discovered, you notice an obituary for Philip Baxter.
The obituary reads, Baxter, Philip Alexander, age 60, died in his home of a sudden illness, born August 15th, 1865, and married to the late Ellen Banks in 1885. Survivors include a daughter, 2 sons, and a brother. Professor Baxter taught at Brown University in Providence for many years. Services will be held tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. at Swans Point Cemetery in Providence.
Philip Baxter was a professor of archaeology that you did study under.
It's a disappointingly brief obituary for a man of his intelligence and influence. And it's also an awful confirmation of the image I had last night of someone who resembled Dr. Baxter. So I guess I'll have to go to this ceremony.
Cornelius, you also, Monday morning, you see the same obituary in the paper. And Cornelius, you not only you knew the professor actually fairly well. For the two of you are members of the Tuesday Night Academy.
Yes.
Philip Baxter was actually the founding member of the Tuesday Night Academy, and you joined about a year ago. And so this is going to be a major stroke against the Academy.
Such terrible news, out of nowhere. I'll definitely get ready to pay my respects at Swans Point Cemetery later today. Do I know who might be attending from the Tuesday Night Academy?
You are aware that there are several members that probably would be in attendance. Not all of the members are in town, so this may be just bad timing, you know. So kind of remains to be seen on how many will be in attendance.
Quite terrible. I'll place a call to my good friend Professor Cordova. I believe he knew him, in case he hasn't read the news.
Place that call.
All right, thank you. There it is.
Hello?
Yes, hey, Zebedee.
Ah, Cuthbert.
I'm
How are you?
I'm rather saddened. I'm not sure if you've seen the newspaper, but Philip Baxter, he's suddenly passed away due to that illness just a couple days ago.
Oh, God. I didn't really know the man very well, but I talked to him. We'd had intelligent conversations, one could say. But it must be a shock for you. Did you know him quite well, Cornelius?
Yes, indeed. Well, he was a good man. I can only, his family, his children. This is terrible. His services are later on at Swans Point Cemetery. I'm not sure if you'd be interested in attending, but I thought of you. I knew you were in town, so I just wanted to let you know.
Yes, I will join you then, Cuthbert. I will join you.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry. Relay the information and such.
Yep. Oh, what a shame. What a damn shame.
And of course, as the obituary stated, the funeral will be set for tomorrow, Tuesday, May 3rd. As the morning goes on, each of you in your own homes receive a telegram delivered by courier.
What is this, Theo? A telegram. Let's see. Worldwide telegram. It's an international telegram of all things. Providence, at the request of the late Philip Alexander Baxter. Philip's dead. I should have read the newspaper this morning. You are invited to the reading of his last will and testament. Stop. 7:30 p.m. on the 5th of May at my offices. Stop. Address 16 Prospect Avenue in Providence. Stop. Braddock. Now, who the devil is Braddock? Maybe his lawyer, you think? I'm not so sure. Well, I will have to go to this. Perhaps Dr. Baxter left me something. Money, maybe? Maybe an old skull. Who knows?
All 5 of you did receive the exact same telegram.
Oh God, I didn't even think I knew him that well. Oh well, left me some. He's left me some.
Well, I'm a little distraught. So I'm gonna go get as quickly as I can catch a train down to Providence.
All right. Is it everyone's intention to attend the funeral on Tuesday the 3rd?
I would not miss it at all.
I will accompany Cuthbert, so I will be attending.
I will
All right.
consult the charts to see if it's a good idea.
All
But
right.
yes, it probably will be fine.
Are there any preparations anyone feels like they need to make on Monday, but prior to advancing to Tuesday?
Cleansing. Perhaps a tarot reading.
I wonder if I have any an appropriate black armband. I'll have to ask Mrs. Wilson about something. Yeah, I'll cancel my afternoon meetings.
All right. So with no further preparations on Monday, we will advance to Tuesday, May 3rd. The funeral at 10 a.m. Is somber and seems to be well attended. There's quite a few people who have come to pay their respects. But there's like a core group that's kind of up close and really kind of in participation of the funeral. The group consists of quite a few people, in fact. Let's see here. You have there is an older woman who is of course everyone is dressed in black, but there is an older woman and a fairly young gentleman in his probably mid to late 30s is standing with her and keeping her company and consoling her as she weeps. There is a older gentleman who is in a wheelchair, and he is being attended by a very tall, very broad-shouldered young man who seems quite fit and is able to heft and take care of this this wheelchair-bound gentleman's needs, especially since the cemetery is not well designed for wheelchairs. So he's really doing a lot of work to have this gentleman there. You can see several men in their 40s and 50s who are in suits, in attendance. Oh, and the wheelchair bound gentleman is a Catholic priest. He's in his adornments with his collar.
GM, I ask a question.
Yes.
The funeral, did it take place inside of a chapel, or is it taking place at graveside?
Graveside.
I don't think that I'll go then.
Okay.
Do I notice any of the attendants, that are here, are any of them in the Tuesday night academy as well? Or?
Yes, you do. So you do recognize, Silas Patterson, and you also recognize Professor Wilson. Both men are professors at Brown University. Although you haven't seen Silas recently, but you do recognize both of them from the academy.
Okay. An unusual low turnout from the TNA.
I'm a member of the Tuesday Night Academy.
Ah,
of course. How could I forget?
Good. I apologize. I had forgotten that. I have something for you, Dr. Long. Let me.
Well, there was an email that you sent back in August.
Yep. I had forgotten about that. That's great. Yes, you are part of the academy. I do have something for you that I will email to you before I forget.
Prior to everyone getting around for the ceremony, I give Dr. Long the secret handshake, of course.
There you go.
So that we meeting under such tragic circumstances.
Yeah, this was very unexpected.
I would have preferred a better excuse to make it down to Providence again so soon.
Well, it is good to see you. Good to see you, Frederick.
This is a very dire situation. So glum. I hate funerals.
Well, I
How's
don't
the
think you're
weather?
alone there.
So, yeah, the older Catholic priest in the wheelchair gives the sermon, and in addition to your group, there are the other 9 that I described, are kind of standing around, quite quiet. You can see. Dr. Long, because you are also in the academy and you recognize Silas Patterson and Professor Wilson, Francis Wilson. You notice Francis Wilson is checking his watch. He keeps looking down at his timepiece, and is tapping his foot. You can also see I'll let the group, everyone who's in attendance, if Xenon is not in attendance, I'll let the group make psychology rolls.
Ooh.
Dead on. 50 on 50.
Psychology is not my area of expertise, so my 34 is a miserable failure.
Oh my goodness. I rolled 34 as well, which is also a failure.
Would have been a success for me, but I rolled an 82.
So I was the only one who succeeded.
All right, Zebedee. Zebedee, you actually also kind of catch a very subtle exchange between a gentleman and a gentleman who he's a stout man in his 50s, you guess, and he seems to be kind of glancing and scowling at oh, I'm sorry, it's not him. It is you notice that Silas Patterson is scowling and glancing at another gentleman who I don't believe you know yet. You don't work at Brown, do you?
Yes, I do, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, well, then if you work at Brown, then you do recognize Harold Englehart, who is a university administrator. So apparently he and Silas are probably not on the best of terms right now from the way that they're glancing at each other.
Well, I walk over to Cornelius as he went over to Frederick, who I don't really recognize that well. So I go to Cornelius. That man, Silas, I think his name is. He was giving some very weird glares towards that man over there. It was very subtle.
Harold?
Yes.
University administrator. I wonder what's going on. Does Silas works also at the university or not?
Silas was. I mean, you haven't seen him recently.
Yeah.
Not that you've been looking for him, but last you heard.
Yes, it's very weird, my friend.
Yeah, I wonder what that's all about. It's certainly
it's probably none of
unbefitting
our
for,
business.
I'm sorry, I don't believe that we've met.
Oh, sorry.
My goodness. Oh, I'm sorry. Dr. Long, this is my good friend of a long time, Professor Zebedee Cordova.
Yes.
No, pleased to meet you.
And Zeb, this is a long-time acquaintance and friend, Dr. Frederick Long.
A pleasure to meet you. Any friend of Cuthbert's a friend of mine, I guess.
In fact, Dr. Long, you did quite a bit of work at the university, at Brown University, didn't you know?
Well, yes, that's where I studied.
Yes,
I have a professorship with the Miskatonic now, but I'm a proud Brown alumni.
How is it over in the Miskatonic?
Oh, it's quite lovely. An odd town, but I quite like it.
Yes. Sadly, I got stuck. I started at Brown and I'm still at Brown, still arguing with the same professors who taught me. Jesus Christ.
But at least you benefit from the finest library.
Yes, you keep me sane, Cuthbert. You keep me sane. Well, this is a rather unusual circumstance. I swear we only saw Baxter like not that long ago. Friday, was it? I don't know.
It was not.
Well, sooner for you. I haven't seen him
yes.
since the last club meeting I attended. I was probably back in March.
Yes, this club of ours. I don't deal with those kind of things.
Not a science man?
I am occasionally, but I tend to get a bit lost in my own thoughts and not all that discussy, unless some ancient historian professor comes along and starts going on about random stuff that really riles me up.
Excuse me for a moment. I'm since you mentioned that the glaring and such between Mr. Patterson there and Harold, I think I'm gonna go over there and talk to Harold just to see what's going on.
Well,
So
I will join you. I haven't spoken to him in a little bit, so.
And it's at this moment that the funeral seems to basically have come to an end. You know, the grave attendants are, you know, the grave diggers are kind of starting to kind of fill in, you know, the grave, and people are starting to kind of back up and beginning to head back, you know, towards where the line of cars are parked, which is not too far away. So yeah, Cornelius, what do you do?
I'll go up to Harold, and because I'm sure I've run into him quite a bit since he's an administrator.
Okay.
Say, Harold.
Oh, well, Cornelius, yes, so good to see you, and under such terrible conditions, terrible.
Yeah.
How are you, my good man?
Well, other than this terrible news, I've been preparing. We were getting a new shipment in of books. We're starting to sort that out. It's actually going to start later tonight, I believe. But,
Very good.
Quite excited about that. I noticed Silas. He's been gone for quite a while. That he showed up here. Did you notice he was over here in the crowd?
Yes, I did notice.
You don't seem too happy about that? Did you guys have a falling out of some sorts?
Something like that. You can do a psychology.
Oh, God, such a low number, 1225. Still a fail.
Something like that. Very good to see you, Cuthbert. I do need to be running, though. Please forgive me.
Oh, certainly. Oh, Professor Cordova, you were with me.
Oh yes, I was. Yeah,
Maybe.
I probably just.
Maybe
I probably just got there. So.
Oh, you just. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, John, other than Engelhart, is there a lot of brown brass that I have to shake hands with? And
yeah, so Engelhart is brown brass, as you say. Professor Wilson is also a professor of Oriental languages at Brown. Of course, the good librarian, Mr. Cuthbert, and of course Professor Cordova. But no, other than Engelhart, there's no upper echelon, kind of folks. Then there are other people that, and of course Silas Patterson is a professor, but there's other people that you don't quite recognize. There was the gentleman who's kind of in his 60s, and there's a few other people. And then I don't think any of you know the only woman who's here, and I don't think anyone knows the Catholic preacher who's in the wheelchair. But you can go ahead.
I was going to ask, did we even know he was a professing Catholic?
You did know that, yes.
Okay. So that this part was not confusing or surprising to us.
No. In fact, anybody who attended Brown or actually anybody who has a personal connection to Professor Baxter, the deceased, go ahead and give me an idea roll, please.
normal success here.
So in the years that you've known Professor Baxter, you do recall him talking about his brother, the priest.
Then I shall have to. I'm going to pump Englehart's hand in a professional manner. Presumably notice that he's impatient, and tell him I'm sure we'll see each other under favorable circumstances. A meeting sooner than later.
Yes. Very good
and
to
then
see you
go
again.
and speak to the officiant, and I suspect the bereaved brother.
Okay. So you can see the priest, and he seems to he favors his right side. You can see that his left side, especially his face, has a little bit of a slack to the left side of his face, and his left hand is just kind of, seated in his lap. And the young strapping gentleman, whose suit seems maybe a size too small, so it's really bulging at the sleeves, is he's actually getting prepared to like lift up the entire chair, to kind of get him out of the grass, right? But as you approach, the older gentleman kind of raises his right hand a bit, and the young man just kind of goes back to like a ready position, just right behind the chair. And so the preacher sees you approaching, and he says, "Good day, good day."
Well, a difficult day, I think, for myself and the others, Father. Do I understand correctly that you are related to Professor Baxter, as I knew him?
Yes, I am Julian Baxter, his older brother. Yes.
Well, it is an honor to meet you. Are you Father Julian then, or?
Yes, Father Julian. Thank you.
It's an honor to meet you. I'm sorry that the circumstances are so grim. I had no idea that your brother was in any serious distress. He was a man that inspired me a great deal and whom I held in high esteem and honor.
It does me good to hear that. Thank you.
Of course. Do you know, was he unwell for a period of time?
No, this is quite sudden. It must have been his heart. It just failed. It's quite sad. No one saw this coming.
No, indeed, he was a very vigorous gentleman for as long as I knew him.
Quite.
Are
All
you
those adventures he would go on.
Quite indeed. Are you? Do you currently maintain a? I'm sorry, I'm not of the faith. I don't know the word. Are you active in a congregation currently?
No. I serve now more in a consulting capacity, you might say.
Certainly understand.
Retirement has its privileges.
Yeah, advantages and disadvantages, certainly, sir. I have to say I have a rather unorthodox question to ask you. I don't know if this is quite the time or the place. But
Speak, my son, tell me.
Well, you see, Father Julian, the night before last, I awoke from a normal slumber to a peculiar sound in my bedroom. And I felt myself to see a figure that appeared to be your brother, Philip Baxter, but vague and sounds silly, vague and phosphorescent, and in a great deal of distress.
the manservant starts to lean down, and Father Julian goes, "Please tell me, are you positive that you were awake during this time? I ask because I actually make it part of my expertise is dream augmentation and interpretations. And I would be very interested to know if you were truly awake or dreaming, and this could be an interesting sign. I was consulting with my brother and his disturbing dreams not long before he passed."
Well, sir, if there's a better time, if there's an office for us to meet, or if you'd like to rest, I understand. But I can assure you that to the best of my ability to ascertain, physical elements in my room suggested that it was something that occurred while I was conscious.
"We shall talk later." And he kind of, looks up and kind of waves a finger, and the tall, strapping gentleman reaches into a breast pocket and hands you a card. And then with that, he says, "I must bid you adieu." And the guy, the young man, and actually Father Julian says, "I'm ready now, Matthew." And so Matthew bends down and just kind of grabs the whole chair, man and all, and I mean without a bead of sweat, just kind of, he's up, and now he's out, and he just starts walking this chair right out, right, almost full arm length, 5 feet off the ground. So he starts walking away. Now, while you're having that conversation, 3 of the men, especially some may have noticed earlier how Professor Wilson was checking a timepiece, and so he has a very personal, quiet conversation with one of the men who was in his 60s in a very, very nice suit, and actually, if anybody is, if their residence is in Providence, I'll allow you an idea roll.
"42, just shy of a hard success."
Fail.
Mr. Dexter, the gentleman who's in his 60s, a little portly, you actually recognize him as a judge, the Honorable Mortimer Braddock, which the name Braddock should ring a bell for everyone who received a telegram. So Professor Wilson has a whispering conversation with Judge Braddock. And then they in turn have they kind of nod and kind of wave over at the gentleman who was in his late 30s, who was standing with the older woman, the only woman here, and so that younger 30s guy, he kind of nods, and then he bends down and gives the woman a kiss on the cheek, and so those 3 gentlemen, Professor Wilson, Judge Braddock, and the younger man who was standing with the woman, the 3 of them exit as they head for a car to leave.
Do I know if it's the 3rd, correct? Today would be
Today is Tuesday, May 3rd.
Tuesday, and the
Tuesday, May 3rd.
Tuesday Night Academy would perhaps be holding a meeting tonight, perhaps? Would I know that?
There is not a meeting scheduled, but that doesn't mean that you couldn't try and start one up.
Interesting. Well, I need to have other members, and maybe the new need to find out who's, since Mr. Baxter, who's now no longer with us, need to find out who was heading up the Tuesday Night Academy.
So while Mr. Dexter was having that conversation with Father Julian, and as the three men left together in a car, the woman is she's dried her tears with a hanky, and she actually she toddles up to Dr. Long and says, "Excuse me, sir."
Yes. How may I help you?
I just wanted to thank you for coming to Philip's funeral. I knew that there were some people that he had been. Well, I suspect that Philip. He was talking so strangely, like he almost suspected that his death may be imminent. I don't understand, but he did say that I should expect to see some new faces here, and I expect that you and your companions may be those faces. I just wanted to say thank you for coming to Philip's funeral and invite you to the home for snacks and just so that we could get to know each other.
Oh, of course. I'm sorry. I'm a Frederick Long.
And she takes your hand and it's very daintily and she says, "Oh, I am Mrs. Vincino, Angela Vincino. I was Philip's housekeeper for many years. After the unfortunate loss of his wife, I started working for Mr. Baxter and helped raise his three wonderful children. And as the three gentlemen that I talked about earlier, Professor Wilson, Judge Braddock, and then that guy in his 30s, those three gentlemen are still walking towards their car. The three of them are going to share a car. And so as Angela, Miss Vincenzo, she's Italian, as she says, I helped raise his three wonderful children. She nods and kind of points in the direction of that 30-year-old gentleman who's exiting with the judge and with Professor Wilson.
Oh, well, I've never had the opportunity to meet any of his children.
Oh, well, I should make your acquaintance. They're so good. They're so good.
Well, I'll if I can catch Cornelius's gaze, I'll wave him over.
Dr. Long?
Cornelius, this is Angela Vicino.
Oh,
Yes.
He's a Philip's housekeeper.
That's must
There's
have been.
going to be a bit of a gathering at the Baxter home.
Please come.
Oh, certainly. Well, it would be my honor. I'm so sorry to hear of this loss of yours. He must have been close.
Well, yes, I knew him for many years. I but we'll save this for the snacks. Please, please come to the house. And she gives you the address.
Okay. I'll ask her because she's an older lady, right?
Yeah.
So,
So
okay.
she's in her. Let's assume she's in her 60s.
60s. Okay. Well, I'll offer some so who else are these new faces who I can go pass along your message.
And so she looks around and she sees Mr. Dexter and Mr. Cordova, Mr. Cuthbert, She doesn't see Dr. Saladin. But she says, "You are all welcome. Please, please. I will go ahead and prepare the snacks."
And I'm after I pass over to the rapidly filling the hole, brooding. I notice that Corny Cuthbert from the library is here as well, looking also very dour. And so I'll go and pay my respects. Thus, subtly cadging an invitation.
Certainly. Oh, Myron, it's very good to see you here. It's been a while.
Yes, affairs. I was a little disappointed by the turnout from the school, but I guess it's not a wonderful time of year for academics to take a day off.
True. Yeah, I'm rather disappointed myself. We've the attendees, the closer ones to Philip, have been invited to by Angela, by his housekeeper.
Oh, that's who the lady was.
Yeah. To just have a somber moment.
Oh, that's interesting. I thought I might invite a couple of you fellows to the club, but if they're having an after service moment, that seems quite appropriate.
Yeah, I think so. It would be good to have you come along. Come along, Myron.
There's room in my car for any of you who'd like.
Oh, wonderful!
Oh.
Actually, that might be a good idea.
Well, thank you. I'm Dr. Long.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. Yes, Dr. Long, a friend of mine. Yeah, Myron.
You're not at Brown, are you?
No. I'm up at Miskatonic.
Oh,
I will walk over now as well.
Dr. Long used to be at Brown, though, and I think when you were at Brown, you might have been there around the same time, I believe.
I don't, I've never been much for names, but yeah, it could be certainly.
Perhaps, I mean, what did you study at Brown?
I was a bit of a divided soul. The family's in banking, you see, and so that was my primary responsibility. But I did dabble in the archaeology and anthropology pet interests. How I know our dear departed.
Well, that would probably explain why we could have attended the university but never encountered each other. I'm a physics and astronomy man.
Yeah, the hard sciences numbers are enough. The numbers I deal with are tangible.
I walk over and go, Cornelius, who's...
Oh, yes. Oh, Professor Cordova.
Hang on. I
Real
recognize.
good. Yes, this is Myron Dexter. Yes. Myron, this is also Professor Cordova from Brown University as well.
Yes.
Yeah, Cordova rings a bell.
Yes, I have seen you in passing. I am from the history department, so...
And as you guys are kind of having this conversation, you're kind of walking back towards your cars, and near the parking lot area outside of Swan's Point, or there's an area just kind of right outside. You see a brightly dressed gentleman that many of you do recognize, who's just kind of standing out there by the cars, going, "So how did it go? What's happening in here? You guys are still alive?" Dr. Saladin.
Oh, God, Cornelius.
Oh.
Have you seen who it is?
Oh, yes.
Oh, so I'm out there. Huh?
Yes. you're not on the grounds. So now they're coming out to their cars, and
Oh.
there you are.
Well, of the last person I expected to see, you're definitely... What are you doing here, Herbert?
Well, Frederick, of course you know that I have the deepest respect for Professor Phillips and for Professor Baxter. I just have an aversion to funerals.
Right. And you just don't...
I sent my condolences. I've been invited to the wake. Still pretending to know science.
That would be describing you.
Oh, you know the numbers, but I know more than the numbers. You don't see.
Of course, and that's why you're the one who lost the position at Miskatonic, and I'm the one who's still there.
Oh, gentlemen,
Exactly
Dr.
the
Saladin,
case.
it's great to see you, but please, gentlemen, this is perhaps not the time to clash again over here. This is a somber day. You've
Oh.
been invited to head on over.
No, it's so
Indeed.
long. Oh no.
Well, I'll get in a car if I'm riding with Dexter, mumbling something about, oh, he's calling himself a doctor now.
Nice to see you, Dr. Saladin. Or Zeno.
Some people can be so rude.
Cornelius, we should head over to...
Well, thank you, Myron, for letting us be passengers in your wonderful car.
Not at all. Not at
I have
all.
my own car.
This is nice. What is this? This is new. This is like a 1920, isn't it?
Oh, it's not even mine. It belongs to the bank. It's one of
Oh.
those things, And I honestly, they all feel a bit the same to me with the little contrivances. It's good to be in comfort, though, I suppose, isn't it?
I wouldn't quite know on my salary, but I'm glad you have.
Since this invitation was informal, would I have known the professor's address, or does somebody have to lead me?
I think you would have known the address because you've known him for years, and so.
And indirectly employed him to some extent, so
Yeah.
It should be something. All right, and he's probably somewhere on College Hill, so. And it's a small group when we arrive. Is there any indication of a larger group?
Yeah, so when you arrive, there are a few cars outside. In fact, there's three of the cars parked along the street. And as you guys get inside the home, the door is the front door is ajar, and so as you get inside, there's the front living room, and there's that front parlor kind of overlooks the front street there. And you can hear the clinking of teacups and glassware and china and whatnot, just kind of tinking. And so you can see that the people who got here ahead of you include Father Baxter, Father Julian Baxter, and the young man who attends him, and of course Angela is here now, still, and you can see that Silas is here, and as well as another gentleman that I don't think anybody here would have need to recognize, but so he's a gentleman who's in his 60s, and yeah, there's just some quiet conversation going on. The gentleman who's in his 60s is kind of having a quiet conversation with Father Julian. Silas is here, and you can see that there's a hallway in the back, and you guys see that Silas went into a room that's towards the back of the house. And Angela is kind of bustling around, and she's got silver platters that are stacked with little finger foods, hors d'oeuvres, and there's the smell of coffee fills the air as she's got a pot of coffee on. She also has a kettle of tea going, and so she sees you guys coming into the house, and she says, "Oh, please, welcome. Please come in. Find any place you would like to, sit, talk, and just, mingle, and we can talk about Philip and just kind of remember Philip, and on this solemn day. And but thank you for coming. Thank you." And she says, "Let me take your coats and hats," and so there's a coat closet nearby, and she deposits them inside, and she says, "What can I get you?"
Oh, tea, please. Thank you so much, Angela.
Oh, thank you. Yes, cup of tea. Yes.
Yes, black coffee for me as well. And my name is Dexter, and you're Mrs. Vincenzo, I understand?
Yes, Mr. Dexter, thank you for coming today, and thank you for coming to the funeral. I know Philip would have really appreciated it. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. The house is beautifully maintained. It's a testament to your efforts.
Thank you so much. It's my honor. It's my pleasure, and I guess it's all mine now. A coffee, you say? Yes, coffee. And then she bustles off since she only has two hands, so she's going to get tea in one, coffee in the other, and then get more orders in a minute. So yeah, what would you guys like to do?
Is from my knowledge, because I believe I know Philip Baxter, or I knew him pretty well. Did I know was he close with Silas? Or do I know of their relationship or their friendship? Or
give me an idea roll.
It's just sort of a surprise because he's off by himself down bunny rabbits. It's just missed, just like 3 points away.
So you're going to take that? You're going to keep that failure?
So early of a burn here. Well, yeah, I need to. Okay, yeah, let's kick it off with the luck hit. All right. Actually, I've got a good amount of luck, so we will.
There you go. You got plenty to spend.
Plenty of luck. Okay, so yeah. So what am I recalling of this?
You do recall that Philip and Silas were close. In fact, Silas or Philip, after meeting Silas, he was the one who encouraged Silas to join the Tuesday Night Academy. So he kind of, because you kind of have to be, sponsored to join the academy, so someone, a member of good standing has to vouch. And then there's the whole, process of being initiated, the whole, it's almost like a credit check, background check. And then once you get all through that, then you get to join the club.
So knowing that, I'll just kind of lean over to Dr. Frederick Long, and since we're in the Tuesday Night Academy, just sort of point out that yes, Silas just ducked in the room back there. What do you think about maybe go back there and just sort of say hi?
Yeah, definitely.
Cup of tea and a finger sandwich, and kind of casually stroll on down that hallway to the room he ducked in. Hopefully.
Yeah, well, I'm I'll go with you. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, the so yeah, as you go this hallway, I mean, this type of house, it's almost like a shotgun house where it's just got that straight hallway that goes from the front door all the way to a back door, and then there's rooms on either side, stairwells and whatnot. So you go past the stairs that go upstairs, and you pass. There's a little water closet right there. So you go past that. You go past the kitchen, and just before you go out into the back porch, there's a room off to your right, and that's the study, and so the study, it's has a very nice desk in it. There's a globe on its own, fairly large globe on its own pedestal, and a nice impressive bookcase. Good collection of books in it, and so Silas is just kind of walking around. He's got a cup of coffee in hand, and browsing through the books, and he sees you guys enter, and of course he knows you both from the academy, and he goes, "Cornelius, Frederick, so good to see you."
That's
Terrible circumstances.
Yes. How are you holding up, Silas?
I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. You guys can give psychology rolls.
Yes, finally. Oh no, that's 100. Rolled 100.
55 is not good.
Yeah, no, he's like, oh yeah, no, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Well, a little shocked.
Quite.
To
yes.
be honest, I mean, when I last saw him in March, Philip seemed fine.
Yeah.
You haven't been around lately, Silas. Where have you been up to? What's taken you away?
Oh, studies, just research, working on my book. I have a third book. Working on that.
Anything
just,
related to the Tuesday night academy?
No. This is just more the anthropology. Just more anthropology. So coming along great. Just a little more research. But smashing. Coming along, smashing. You?
Oh, still at the university. Very excited. We're getting a new batch of books in tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So it's pretty much the same old, but I love it.
Excellent. Yeah.
Very happy to see Dr. Long's in town.
Oh, right. Miskatonic, isn't it?
Miskatonic.
How is that?
Oh, quite lovely. Now that it's most of the snow has finally melted out of the shade.
Sure. Yeah. Who's the administrator there? Just curious. I'm just curious.
Oh, well, I think let's see, Victor.
You can make up any name.
Yeah, I know. Fine. I'm trying to think of a last name off the top of my head. Victor Smith. Whatever.
Victor Smith. All
Everybody's right. A Smith.
Yes. All right. I'll have to remember that. That's very good. Yes, excellent. Yeah. Well,
looking. Administrators, are you looking for a position?
Oh, it's just hard to stay tied down in one place for too long. I just got these wandering legs. You know what I mean?
Well, Arkham's a lovely town.
Excellent. Yes, I love a lovely town.
If you ever visit, I'd love to show you around.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you. I I would really appreciate that. Thank you.
Of course.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, while those gentlemen are in the back room having this conversation, um, Dr. Saladin, what are you doing?
I would like to speak with the Catholic priest.
All right. Yeah. So as you approach Father Baxter, it is a fortuitous moment as the 60-year-old gentleman who was speaking with him says, well, yeah, have a good day. And he kind of looks at you and he kind of goes, oh, welcome. And then he looks down at Julian and says, Julian, and then he takes his tea and kind of goes another way, you know. And so then Father Baxter looks up at you and says, good day.
Good day. Am I to understand you are Father Julian Baxter?
Yes, very nice to make your acquaintance, Mr.
Dr. Zeno. Dr. Zeno Saladin.
Dr. Zeno. That's what may I ask? Doctor of what?
Astronomy, astrology, the fates.
Oh, well.
A spiritual man am I, much like you.
Well, not quite like me.
Well, we interpret the universe in slightly different ways, but it all amounts to the same thing. We believe in God. I sort of believe in God. I believe something is out there. The universe itself is ordered and measured and means something. It's not just all random nonsense. And I look around for Professor Long.
Yes. That's a very interesting interpretation.
Indeed. I was quite surprised to hear that your brother had passed.
As were we all.
I'm sorry I didn't attend the funeral itself. I have reasons that I don't go into cemeteries.
Yes. Not right for the tea leaves, is it?
You could say that.
Please forgive my jest. It's the grief. It's
quite all right. My guess is that you are retired. Are you still affiliated with one of the churches local?
Good question. I forgot.
St. Bernadette, St. Peter's, St. Mary Magdalene, probably 50 of them.
Yeah, right. There's so many.
The Archdiocese of Providence, probably. It's not important if you can't remember.
My mind it goes. Yeah, so let's just say we'll say St. Peter's.
Okay.
St. Peter's.
Lovely church, lovely.
Most beautiful of the area, yes.
I'm very curious. Apparently, I've been named in Philip's will. I can't imagine what. I mean, we weren't particularly close.
Well, I must admit, Dr. Zeno and I'm at a loss. I do not know.
I mean, we're both Brown's people. I was professor at Miskatonic, but I went to Brown. He'll be missed. He'll be missed a great deal.
Yes, he will.
Well, I'll let you rest, and I'll mingle with the rest of the crowd then.
God be with you.
And also with you.
Mr. Dexter and Mr. Cordova, what are you guys doing?
Part of the answer to that is whether either Judge Braddock or the young heir are here at the wake, evidently.
Correct. So Judge Braddock, the young Mr. Baxter, and Professor Wilson, they left together from Swan's Point, but they are not here.
So that was So I'm happy to politely mingle, decide whether Mrs. Vincenzo's coffee is actually good.
Okay.
And maybe do a little bit of eavesdropping, because I thought it strange that she called him by his Christian name and seemed to have inherited the house. So I'm looking for indications of their having a cohabitant relationship, but not overly snooping. I wouldn't judge the man.
Make a psychology roll as you kind of look around. And Professor Cordova, are you standing with Mr. Dexter? Are you guys kind of mingling together?
I would have probably tried to find a quiet place where there's not too much chatter, because too much chatter gets me going a bit, and I want to scratch at my skin. So
when you first came in, of course, you walk up from outside. You walk up onto the porch, and then there's the front door. And the front door leads right into the living room. But off to your right is a parlor. It's basically a sunroom that overlooks the front yard, and that parlor is empty, and it's brightly lit from the sun, and it's a little warm in there. It's actually quite comfortable in there, but no one's standing in the front parlor right now.
Yes, I will make my home there for a while until I can see Cuthbert around. Or Zeno, because I am intrigued. I want to speak to Zeno. Haven't seen him in a while. So.
Okay. As you go into the parlor, Zeno was having a conversation with the wheelchaired individual, the Catholic priest who's in the wheelchair, and that's in the living room. So you kind of walk past them and maybe give a little nod to Zeno as you go into the parlor. Mr. Dexter, how'd that psychology go?
The dice say I know nothing.
Okay. So as you're kind of, politely just kind of looking around, trying to, get a reading of things that are going on, the 60-year-old gentleman comes up to you, and he's holding a little cup and saucer of tea, and he walks up to you and he says, well, good morning. And may I ask, how did you know the deceased?
The name's Dexter, Myron Dexter. And
Dr. Douglas Walters.
Walters, not at Brown, though?
Oh, no, I'm a family physician.
Oh, I see. That's quite interesting. Dr. Walters, sorry. In fact, I studied under the professor some years ago. He nearly led me astray into the dusty realm of archaeology for a lifetime.
Oh, he did like those. If it was 100 years old, it was of his interest, in his wheelhouse, as they say.
The older the better in many regards. And he could spin a yarn, and I remain. I feel close to him to this day. I feel like I saw him only a couple of nights ago. If you were the family physician then, did you have any reason to anticipate this? I thought he was a very vigorous man.
Well, of course, I can't go into private matters, but suffice to say that I think we were all caught completely unawares. He's always seemed fit as a fiddle, but yes, I just do not understand.
Do you know? And I expect that as gentlemen we understand the privacy of the deceased as well as anyone. I get the impression from his brother that he'd been having difficulty sleeping of late, which I understand can predict certain afflictions of the bowel, etc.
Yeah, there's yes, many things to afflict. Hard to say. I guess his heart just eventually gave out. I don't understand.
Well, he'll be sorely missed. I'm sure. Did you attend to his late wife as well?
Yes, I did know her. Wonderful woman.
She was also taken abruptly, wasn't she?
She was. Yes, she was. Terrible. Many years ago. But yes, very, very sad. The children were still very young. I helped birth all three of his children, so I've known the Baxters for quite some time.
Only I got the impression that only one of the lads was here today. Are they far afield, having adventures of their own?
Right, it runs in the blood, I guess. Yes, Cynthia is wow, she's in the Middle East, I believe, or the Far East. It's Andaman Islands, if I recall correctly. So yes, quite a distance, and
she's probably not even gotten a telegram yet.
Oh, I would certainly hope so. It is only poor Philip. He died on last Saturday, so on April 30th. So hopefully by now she's received the telegram. But some of the wire services are unpredictable there in the bush.
Yeah, overseas and all that. I could have sworn he was still around early Monday morning.
No. Yeah, his corpse had already been committed to the funeral parlor come Monday. Yes.
Late Saturday night. Was he alone? Do you know? I'm sorry, I'm prying again. I wonder about these last moments.
My understanding is that my official report is that he died of a heart attack while he slept in his bed. He died sometime in the night between Saturday and Sunday morning.
Well, we could all hope for such a peaceful and surprising end, I suppose.
Yes.
Still. So all three of the children. So Cynthia's all the way in the Andamans.
Yes, and Colin is in Florida, but Colin, if you're unfamiliar with Colin, he is a bit of a black sheep, so they say. So yes, I think it was far-fetched hopes that Colin would make the trip, but Emmett, he is the eldest, of course. So Emmett is such a good lad, bit strong-headed, so they say, but good lad, good lad.
It appears to be close to the housekeeper, and that's a sort of friendly situation.
Yes, well, Angela was a surrogate mother for them after their mother's passing. So she's served the family well and with great honor.
All seem exemplary people, and I'm sure whatever hot-headedness Colin exhibits now, he'll come into the sound values that his father presented as he matures.
Quite.
We can hope.
Quite. We can hope. One can always hope. One can always hope. Well, it was very nice to make your acquaintance.
Yeah, my honor, sir. May I presume that I'll be seeing you at the reading of the will?
Yes, I will be attending.
Yeah, surprising incident that. I wouldn't have thought he'd remember me in that regard, but perhaps there's some trinket from a dig that he knew I would love.
Perhaps so. I don't really know.
I think in addition to his untimely passing, the professor will prove to have other surprises for us.
Indeed. So why don't we you guys mingle for a little while longer, and a vehicle pulls up, actually pulls up into the driveway of the home, and a young man in his 30s enters in. You recognize him from the funeral services. He was standing with Angela, and he comes in and walks in and kind of sees everyone, and he kind of gives a nod to Father Julian, and looks for Angela. Angela, really, all these people? Honestly, I understand, but I think it may be time that we say goodnight. And so the young man comes in and he says, attention, please. Thank you for coming, but it's been a long day, as you can clearly imagine. Good day. Thank you, and good day.
Am I recognizing him as any of the children?
Yes. And I mean, this is a home, so there's family portraits and photos around, and this gentleman bears a striking dead-on resemblance to some of the younger people that are in some of the older photos, and you guys can actually see a bit of Philip in him. So there is a strong resemblance.
Maybe Colin or Emmett, maybe.
Take the hint. We leave.
All right, thank you.
I'm sorry, did you say he came in with someone?
He came in by himself. He drove up by himself and entered by himself.
Right. Without those, he absconded from the funeral. Yeah. Very good. Well, I will ask Ms. Vincenzo for my hat.
Oh, here you are, dear. Thank you.
And bluster a little bit up to Emmett as I make my way out. I'm sorry that I didn't have the opportunity to make your acquaintance during your father's life. He was a gentleman that I had a great deal of respect for. But I appreciate your need for rest and privacy. I'll see you in a couple of days.
Yes, thank you. And he introduced himself. He says,
yes.
Emmett Baxter.
Yes.
Pleased to make your acquaintance. And so as he introduces himself, he presses his business card into your hand. He says, "News clipping services. If you need anything, just give me a ring."
Most enterprising. I appreciate a young fellow who's willing to strike out on his own.
Yes, yes. Well, we do what we can. Do we do what we can?
It's good to meet you, and my condolences.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, well, good evening, all. Good evening. He sees Dr. Zeno. He's like, good evening.
A blessing on your house.
Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So the will reading is in 2 days. It's on Thursday. Does anybody have anything that they wish to arrange or do between now and the will reading?
I will try to speak to Zeno, because at some point...
You may do that now.
Meet me by my car.
Yeah.
A friendly face. Hello, Zebedee. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, but the noises have got a bit too much for me today. But
yes.
Zeno, it's a pleasure to see you again. It's been a while.
Indeed.
But, I actually, with the recent death, and you know what, I'm a little bit, after the war, I'm a little bit shaken with things. Is it possible I could get one of your readings?
Of course, of course. Why don't you come by my office tomorrow morning? I think that I've got 2 others in the morning, Sylvia Peach Blossom and Madame Thulia Cole. But I should be free by 11 if you want to come by then.
Yes, I will. I'll be sure to come by. I'm a little bit, as I said, shaken by. Yes.
I understand. We all have frightening things in our past.
Yes, very. I have another question as well, because I don't know if you knew Baxter very well, but have you been invited to his will reading?
I have, and I'm not exactly sure why.
Same. Obviously, my dear friend Cuthbert knows him, but I've only seen him in passing and maybe spoken to him about history once. I don't know.
I took a class with him a long time ago, and I've seen him occasionally at Brown, but as you say, it's just sort of in passing, hello, how are you today, and not much more than that. I enjoy archaeology, but it's not my field, you know.
Yes, I enjoy that kind of stuff, but I prefer staying where I am, writing about it rather than, and speaking rather than doing.
Indeed.
But yes, I found it a bit odd that I was invited to a will reading, yet I have very little connection.
I hope Long isn't going to be there.
From what I gather from Cuthbert introducing me, I think he will probably be there.
Oh, such an insulting man.
What is it with you two? I've only just really met Long today.
He knows the numbers, but he doesn't understand them. That's as simple as I can put it.
He doesn't get the depth of
No.
things. Yeah.
And that's going to be his undoing someday. I can see it. I can see it in his future.
Oh, have you got new rings?
The same one I always have.
It's been a while, so.
It has ward marks to keep me safe, and I have the ward against the evil eye as well.
Well, maybe it will come in handy for you. But yes, I will
See you tomorrow.
make sure. At the will reading, and
Tomorrow you can come by.
Yes.
11 o'clock is good.
Yes, thank you.
All right.
Yeah, then I'll be with Cuthbert, I guess. Chilling with Cuthbert.
Awesome. So if there is nothing else,
Well, I have two matters of business, I think. I'm curious about this O'Donnell fellow that is no longer in business with Baxter. And I wonder if through any of the city clubs, I have some access to Judge Braddock, because the large circumference of this will reading gives me a bad feeling. And I would like to get a private word before I'm embarrassed by some, I don't know, relatives' shenanigans or something.
okay. Do you want to try and have a meeting with? So there is a whole day in between now and the will reading. There's Wednesday in its entirety. So do you want to try and get a meeting with the judge on Wednesday?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll put staff on at least finding out about if this O'Donnell has a criminal record or there's anything in the financials that would make him notable.
Okay. Does anybody else have any plans for Wednesday?
Just checking up with my assistant at the library to make sure that the shipment's being properly cataloged. Dewey Decimal System and all. Needs to be
Of course.
right.
I will have a reading with Zeno if that's the next day. So
I figure Braddock's got to know somebody in their Rotary Club, if not one of the more refined clubs in town.
Right. Okay. So Zebedee and Zeno are gonna have that's when they'll have their reading is on Wednesday. What is Cornelius? Oh, Cornelius, you're cataloging the new books and stuff that came in, preparing that. Dr. Long?
Well, I have a couple of TAs I'm talking to who have
To cover
Making
for
sure-
you in your absence.
making sure that the classes are going well.
Okay.
So I'm phoning back to Miss Katonic on Wednesday.
Okay. So Myron, why don't you give me a credit rating as you contact Judge Braddock's office?
I'm disappointed to only make that normally with my fancy 70, but I got a 62. So he's not impressed.
But it was a success. Excellent. Yeah. So with that success, you are able to get an appointment on his calendar with such short notice. And so as you arrive for your appointment, the secretary lets you in, and there you see Judge Braddock. You clearly recognize him from the funeral, and he stands to shake your hand, and he says, "Ah, you were at the funeral, yes."
Yes, indeed, Judge Braddock. Pleasure to meet you. I'm surprised we've met before. It's Myron Dexter. Of the
Dexter, yes. Okay, welcome. Have a seat.
Thank you, and thanks for seeing me at short notice. I won't take up much of your time. It appears that that Professor Baxter's will is extremely inclusive, and I'm just wondering if, without revealing, of course, anything untoward, you have an idea of how he has such a broad-based and unusual bequest. I didn't expect to hear anything from him, and some of the others seem even more unlikely.
Yes, well, Philip was a bit of an odd duck, if you will. But he had just made changes to his will, and strangely enough, he passed very much soon after. So I do find it very, very odd. But as you say, it is quite strange. And while I'm not at liberty to say anything at this time, I will say that your name and those of certain companions that Philip was, for whatever reason, associating with you, that those names, yours and their names, were only just added. So it is very strange indeed.
And being that he had to declare that he was of sound mind, he didn't explain anything about what associations he made between us?
Not to me, but maybe that will be something that comes clear later for you.
Well, I appreciate your time, Judge. I assume I'll be seeing you tomorrow at the reading?
I am presiding, yes.
Well, yes, very well. Thank you for your time. It's a mystery, perhaps to be resolved in time.
We shall see. Okay, so let's advance the clock. Okay. Let's advance the clock, and it is now Thursday, May 5th. It's will reading day. Mr. Dexter is quite familiar with the location for the will because he was just here the day before. As you guys arrive at the law offices for Judge Braddock, and so there's a fairly spacious conference room, and people are milling and gathering together for this.
Did we, going back to when we left, when we were encouraged to leave by Emmett, did we notice Silas leaving as well?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. In fact, the only people that stayed were Father Julian and his manservant, and Emmett, Baxter, and Angela. They were the only ones that stayed in the house. Okay, so as you guys begin gathering for the will reading, okay, so you guys are gathering into the office. So let's see. Father Baxter is here, as well as his manservant Matthew. Angela is here. Emmett is here, sitting with her. Silas is here, and Dr. Walters is here. And that is it. And then you guys. Okay. And Dr. Walters is sitting on the other side of Angela. So he's sitting with her. So Judge Braddock, once you guys arrive, Judge Braddock has a quiet word with his secretary. And so she kind of stands and goes, "Yes, sir." And so she heads to exit the room, and she takes the double doors and pulls them closed, so that now the room is now sealed, and Judge Braddock clears his voice. He says, "Welcome all. This is Philip's will. I will now read Philip's will. So please hold all questions until the end." And he puts on some spectacles and he sits down and ruffles some papers and says, I, Philip Alexander Baxter, of being sound mind and body, do will and bequeath the following. To Mrs. Angela Vincenzo, who has faithfully helped me all these years since the departure of my beloved wife, and who helped to raise my 3 children, I bequeath all properties associated with the house at 711 Houster Street, along with a small fund detailed in Appendix A. I'm not going to say that. Oh, no, it is part of it. So Appendix A of the will, as well as a small fund detailed in Appendix A of my will, to maintain the said property until her death. This property is to, or upon her death, this property is to revert to my surviving children. As for the rest, insurance policies, bank accounts, and other residue, I give half of the total to the Tuesday Night Academy, and the remaining 50% to be divided equally among my 3 children, Emmett, Colin, and Cynthia. Cynthia's share is to be given, as per her request, to the Catholic Widows Relief Fund. As the reading ends, Emmett Baxter cannot contain himself, and he starts shouting at Silas Patterson, "You doddering imbeciles! It's not bad enough that you wasted my father's money while he was alive. Now you're taking the rest while he's dead?" Of course, he's accusing Silas, since he's part of the Tuesday Night Academy. He also stares daggers at you gentlemen as well. And as Emmett stands up and starts shouting at Silas, Silas is just like, hey, and Dr. Walters is standing up and trying to like physically hold back Emmett, and Angela is just weeping, going, "Emmett, stop! Emmett, stop!" And then Braddock, who actually has a gavel in here with him, he starts slamming on the table. There will be order. There will be order. Emmett, sit down. You impetulant child, sit down. That is the substance of the will, except for legal and financial details in various articles appended to the document. A few days before Philip's death, he stopped by my office as he prepared 2 packets, informing me that in the event of his death, I was to deliver them to their addressees. Professor Francis Wilson has already received his packet, since he has had to leave the country. So I took care of that right after the funeral. Braddock then stands as he has an 8 by 11 manila envelope, packet envelope, and scrawled on the envelope's cover, it says Myron Dexter and Associates. And so Judge Braddock extends this envelope out to Mr. Dexter. And he says, "Mr. Dexter, Philip named you," and he's looking at like a small piece of paper. He says, "He names your associates as Dr. Zeno Saladin, Cornelius Cuthbert, Professor Cordova, and Dr. Frederick Long. This is for you, gentlemen." And he gives you this packet. You can feel that there are packets bulging. There's items in there, more than just papers. So do you wish to open? There are 3 items in here. First is a note. Second
think we
is
need- Yes, we need an explanation.
Yep. There is a note, which I will give you this note in just a second. There's also a small brown leather-bound book that has some wear and tear on it. And there is a sketch. So, the note and the sketch I'll show you right now, and then with the do you wish to and so Braddock says that's it, that's the will reading. And Emmett is still pissed at how much, that 50% of all of Philip's money is going to the Tuesday Night Academy. And he's like, this is outrageous. And he says, Angela, come on, let's go. And so he's helping Angela, and they're leaving. And Dr. Walters nods and shakes Judge Braddock's hand, and they begin to leave. And then Father Julian says, it's time, Matthew. And so Matthew, starts wheeling out the professor, and Judge Braddock says, "I leave you the room," and he leaves with his papers and gavel and stuff. So you guys basically have this room to yourself now, so you can browse the contents of the packet. So the packet.
Please, Mr. Dexter, would you read it to us? I'm intensely curious.
And don't be too loud, please. That gavel really set me off.
Certainly,
Curious to see how
Professor
I'm
Cordova, I'll try to be sensitive. If anything terribly strange comes up, I hope you won't object to my calling Judge Braddock back in as a witness. It seems that's all very eccentric and troubling.
It is fine. As long as we get to know why we're here. Why me? Why? I can understand Cuthbert and Long, but
I want to know why
me
I'm
and-
linked with Long.
All right, so let us begin the browsing of the contents.
Philip has written, Dear Myron and Associates, it may seem odd that I've chosen after all these years to contact you, especially since you will be reading this after my death. When the judge told me, by the way, that he just added this codicil a few days earlier. The contents of this packet will be strange to you. In fact, as I look at them now, they seem strange to me. The book is a record of dreams that I kept over a short period of time at the request of my brother, Julian, who was involved with that sort of psychological research. I'm afraid I don't put much stock into that sort of thing, but the final dream in the journal was so different from any other that I've had that I never did show it to Julian for his annotation. I seem to have learned more from that dream than I would have guessed possible, and decided to attempt it again, although I feel that great hazards are involved. Because I believe the risks are great, I leave this envelope in the care of a trusted friend to be delivered to you and your associates in case something should go wrong. I've chosen you to receive this strange bundle because I was with you. It was you whom I saw in that strange city that I dreamed of, and I have taken this to be a sign. What you will think of all this, I have no idea, but take it and do what you will. Philip Baxter. P.S. I don't know what to tell you about the enclosed map. All I can say is that it was shown to me by a friend and drawn from memory upon awakening. P.A.B.
And since he mentions the map, let's take a look at that. This is the sketch.
And so there's a hand-drawn map of the route to the jungle of Cled. And it has many comical words and names on it. Hatheg, Ulthar, Near, an enchanted forest. A river called Ukranos, which looks Greek. a ferry across this river at a place called Kiran, and in the jungle of Kled, a castle of the sacred fount. Sounds a bit like the Fountain of Youth. That would be nice.
What the hell? What is this?
He said it was from a friend, but it seems like a dream indeed.
This is... I don't know what to say. It looks almost like you would find in a book, almost. Someone would... One of those fantasy.
I've never had a dream that was so intricately mapped out before, though. This seems to be a bit more.
Yes, how can you get that so perfect if that was mapped from a dream? Strange, very strange.
And so you now turn to the leather book, which in the note, Philip said this is a dream journal that he kept, and that he would share this journal with his brother Julian, the father Julian. He would share the book with his brother, and his brother, who is does these dream interpretations, has annotations after each of Philip's entries. And so I welcome someone to begin reading this aloud. Anyone?
Let me do this. This has to do with dreams, something I am somewhat familiar with. April 2nd. I dreamed I was teaching a class. I looked up and I saw a student, a young man with a particularly poor attitude, reading a pulp magazine whilst I lectured. Incensed by the breach of conduct, I stepped from behind my podium, intent upon upbraiding him, only to discover that I had forgotten to wear my trousers that day. Naturally, the class took this opportunity to laugh loud and long at my predicament. And Father, what's his name? Father
Julian.
Father Baxter. A common sort of dream, I would agree, usually rooted in some type of insecurity. Do you have a particularly different class coming up? I would suggest that you research and prepare your notes well. This Julian Baxter. April 9th, flying. All I remember is flying high in the sky, and when I looked down, I could see all of Providence below me. Once again, Father Baxter says, flying is very common. It could mean anything in this early into the analysis. I hesitate to say anything definite. Julian Baxter. April 11th. Again, flying as before, only this time it was nearing nightfall and the sky was growing darker while I flew. Once again, let's wait some more on these flying dreams, Father Baxter. April 12th. I'd have to say that this one truly frightened me. I found myself standing in a shop, a china or crystal shop, and there was a horse there with me. The horse tried to turn around in the aisle, and in doing so upset one of the display cases, which toppled over on the distraught beast, cutting him badly with the broken shards of glass. This panicked the animal, and in trying to get away, it overturned another of the cases, injuring itself even worse. By this time, the floor was slippery and with the horse's blood. The animal's eyes were bulging with fear. Then it turned, and seeing the large window at the end of the shop, galloped forward and leaped through the glass to freedom. I ran forward, and as I was nearing the shattered window, I realized for the first time that the shop was not on the ground floor. I looked out the window and to the street 3 floors below to see the broken animal lying in a pool of blood. That's all I remember. Father Baxter says, this is an odd one, but don't let it upset you. It may only mean that you are getting ready to chase away some old, useless problems. I'm not sure I would agree with that, but we'll see. April 15th, the first thing I remember is standing in a mist that suddenly parted to reveal a great archway carved of red and gold stone and pulsing as though alive. Drawn forward, I entered and found myself walking down an old stone pathway and somehow entering a chamber inhabited by two men, garbed as though of ancient Egypt and standing before a great fire. I remember speaking with them, but I don't know what was said, only that I soon found myself descending another set of stairs that took me even deeper. After what seemed to be a very long time, I finally reached the bottom of these stairs and passed through gigantic doors of silver to find myself standing in a weird fairy wood. I stood there a moment, listening to the strange rustling sounds I could hear coming from deep in the wood, and viewing the even stranger fungi that was so prevalent, when I was surprised by the sudden appearance of a man walking towards me upon the very path on which I stood. I was a little frightened of him at first, but I cautiously extended my hand and introduced myself. He was very friendly and offered to show me the way to a small, pleasant city some miles away and across a river, the name of which I cannot recall. Leaving the wood by the path that my new friend had traveled south. Let me try that again. Leaving the wood by a path that my new friend said traveled south, we eventually reached the town called Uther, where we stopped at a warm and friendly tavern for food and drink. This fellow told me much about the place I had suddenly found myself in, and I remember asking him many questions. He seemed quite knowledgeable, and I was sorry when he said that he had to go meet someone else. I spent some time walking around the town, where there were many cats. Oh, I like cats. Thankfully, my allergy seemed little bothered. Eventually, I came to a library and decided to visit. I remember looking at a great number of very strange volumes, but one named Chaat Aquadonen, I think, had information about God, who lived somewhere in a jungle and could answer any question that was asked him. I don't remember anything else in particular, but when I left, I thought I saw a dark, evil-looking little man lurking some distance behind me in the crowd. He followed me quite some time before I managed to shake him, and it was only then that I remember seeing him when we first entered the city, working with a shady carnival show in a garish tent. Not long after my adventure with the dwarf, I felt the urge to leave, and taking the same gate out of Uther, I was soon again in the wood, remembering the password taught to me by my friend. He said it was Sheba, the name of his cat. I was careful to pass through the darker parts of the forest as quickly and quietly as I could, never straying from the path. I next remember climbing many, many stairs, and then I was awake again. I've never had a dream like this one before. Could it have been the drug? The drug. That's a very extremely detailed dream.
Well, he said it himself in the end. He's some kind of drug.
That was that was too detailed, not necessarily a drug.
But there are some. It's believed that some drugs can open the mind and allow us to walk in places that we normally couldn't walk. The human mind is only capable of certain perceptions.
When we say it is believed, some of us mean things like there is pavement and bitumen, and some of us believe there are silly crystals and funny hats.
Yes,
my good man.
I've got in my historical research, I've come across some Native Americans who believe in dream walking, and they can vividly relive what they saw. It's part of their tradition, and maybe his experience. I don't think a drug would make you know it that vividly. He remembered near enough every detail. Surely.
Surely not. I have nothing in my dream life is similar to this. Although I did have a very vivid experience a few nights ago. That aside, gentlemen, it's not clear to me what our decedent benefactor wants us to do with this odd business. I discussed the dreams with his brother already, so I can continue on that front should the old fellow make it until we can have an appointment.
Do we have any idea of what type of drug he was taking? Is there any mention of this study more in depth?
We'll ask his brother.
His brother or the family, the doctor who was here?
If I may interject, these are all excellent questions to ponder. And I think we should explore these questions and seek answers in our next episode.
Indeed. Our players included Morgan Llewellyn, Stuart Lively, Josh Harwood, David Gasaway, and myself with John Hook as the Keeper of the Secrets. We have a Discord server where you can chat with other members. You can set up private games and learn the finer art of gameplay and game mastery. There's a link below. We're currently producing up to 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. The costs involved with the show are provided almost entirely by our patrons. Without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. If you'd like to help support our show, please visit our Patreon account. Just $1 to a month helps us a lot. You can find a link in the description below. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and punch the bell icon for updates on our latest shows. And leave us some comments. We enjoy reading them and answer any questions you might have. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good game.